I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed, the flash drive clutched so tightly in my hand it left a mark in my palm. Every sound outside made me jump. Every pair of headlights passing by sent me to the window. By sunrise, I had made up my mind. The name in my grandfather's files, R. Marshall, was the only thread I had that connected me to someone outside the corruption. Someone he trusted. Someone who might be able to help me understand what I was holding before it swallowed me whole. But how do you find someone who's clearly been living in the shadows? I started with the obvious. A quick search on the computer pulled up several Marshall names in journalism, but most were dead ends. Sports writers. Lifestyle bloggers. Nothing that screamed independent press or investigative truth-teller. Then I found it. An old blog, half broken. Its articles dating back over a decade. The tagline read, "Unmasking Power, One Leak at a Time." The author? Rachel Marshall. Her posts were bold, fearless. She had covered government overreach, corporate fraud, and whistleblower testimonies before those topics ever made mainstream news. And then, suddenly, 5 years ago, nothing. The trail went cold. It was risky, but I found an email listed on the site. It looked abandoned, probably unmonitored. Still, I typed out a message with trembling fingers. My name is Tasha Carson. My grandfather was Henry Carson. He said you could be trusted. I found something he left behind, and I believe my life is in danger. If you're reading this, please contact me. I hovered over the send button for a long time. My grandfather's warning echoed in my head. Trust no one. But hadn't he trusted her? Wasn't that enough? Finally, I hit send. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I couldn't focus on work. Couldn't eat. Daniel called twice, but I ignored him. The tension between us was a ticking bomb I wasn't ready to face again. By nightfall, I still hadn't heard back. My stomach twisted with doubt. What if the email bounced? What if she disappeared for good? Or worse, what if she was already compromised and I just signed my own death warrant? At midnight, my phone buzzed. A new email. From an address I didn't recognize. If you are who you say you are, meet me tomorrow, 3 p.m., Riverside Cafe. Sit by the window. Order tea. I'll find you. Come alone. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. I read the message again and again. It was cautious, cryptic, but it sounded like a journalist's voice. Careful but direct. Still, doubt gnawed at me. What if it was a trap? What if Daniel or Elena had intercepted my email somehow? The next day, I drove to Riverside Cafe, a small corner shop that looked harmless enough. The midday sun cast long shadows across the sidewalks. Inside, the place was quiet. Just a few students with laptops and an old couple sipping coffee. I ordered tea like the email said and sat by the window, my bag on the chair beside me, the flash drive hidden inside. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Minutes crawled by. Then she walked in. A woman in her early 40s, her dark hair pulled back, wearing simple jeans and a jacket. She scanned the room with sharp eyes before approaching my table. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. I nodded, swallowing hard. "Are you?" "Rachel Marshall," she said, keeping her voice low. "Your grandfather and I worked together years ago. He said you might need me one day." Guess that day came. Relief and fear tangled inside me. I slid the flash drive across the table. This was hidden with his files. "I think people are watching me. I think they already know I have it." Her gaze hardened. She didn't touch the drive, not yet. "Do you have any idea what's on here?" I shook my head. She leaned closer, her tone razor sharp. "If this is what I think it is, it could expose people who won't hesitate to kill to keep it buried. If you go down this road, there's no turning back. Do you understand?" My throat tightened, but I forced myself to nod. "I've already started." Rachel finally took the drive, slipping it into her pocket. "Then you need to be ready. Once this comes out, your family won't just be angry. They'll want you silenced." I wanted to ask her more, but before I could, I caught it, the reflection of a black SUV pulling up outside in the cafe window. Rachel's eyes flicked toward it, then back to me. Her expression turned grim. "They've already found you." Rachel's warning hit me like a punch in the chest. "They've already found you." My pulse spiked as the black SUV's headlights cut across the cafe window. My first instinct was to duck, but Rachel placed a steady hand on my arm. "Don't panic. Stay calm," she whispered, her eyes never leaving the glass. "If they think you're spooked, they'll move faster." Every nerve in me screamed to run, but I forced myself to stay still, my teacup trembling against the saucer. Through the window, two men stepped out of the SUV, tall, broad, dressed in plain clothes but carrying themselves with the sharp precision of professionals. Not random thugs. Professionals. Rachel's voice was low, urgent. "Listen to me carefully. I'll distract them. When I say go, head through the back door. Don't stop. Don't look back. Got it?" I nodded, though my throat was so dry I couldn't speak. The cafe door chimed, and the two men entered. Their eyes swept the room. One of them lingered on me a beat too long. My stomach knotted. Rachel rose casually, as if stretching her legs. She smiled faintly, then brushed past me, murmuring one word under her breath. "Now." I didn't think. I grabbed my bag and slipped toward the back, weaving between tables, praying the men hadn't seen. The hallway to the kitchen smelled of coffee and dish soap. I shoved through the swinging door, nearly colliding with a waitress carrying a tray. "Sorry," I mumbled, then darted past her. My hands fumbled for the back door's handle when a rough voice barked from behind me. "Hey, stop." My heart leapt into my throat. I shoved the door open and bolted into the alley. The sunlight was blinding after the dim cafe. Trash bins lined the narrow path, and the air smelled of grease and old bread. My footsteps echoed against the walls as I sprinted toward the street. A shout rang out behind me. I didn't dare look back. I burst onto the sidewalk, nearly colliding with a man walking his dog. Horns blared as I darted across the road, narrowly avoiding a delivery truck. My chest burned, but adrenaline pushed me forward. Finally, I ducked into a small bookstore 2 blocks down, gasping for air as I pressed myself against the shelves. My hands shook so violently I had to grip the wood to steady myself. For a moment, silence. Just the sound of pages turning and the faint hum of the air conditioner. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text. "Unknown number. You're in deeper than you know. Keep moving." My stomach twisted. Was it Rachel? Or was someone else tracking me now? I wanted to believe it was her, that she'd gotten away and was warning me. But the words felt cold. Impersonal. I slipped out the back of the bookstore and kept moving, ducking into side streets, glancing over my shoulder every few seconds. Every car that slowed made my skin crawl. Every passerby felt like a threat. By the time I reached my apartment, the sun was setting. My body ached, and fear clung to me like a second skin. Inside, I locked the door and collapsed against it, sliding to the floor. My breaths came in shallow bursts. Rachel had the flash drive. That was good. She'd know what to do with it. But what if she hadn't made it out? What if they had her now, and the drive with her? I pressed my palms against my eyes, willing myself not to cry. That's when I heard it. A soft click from the kitchen. Every hair on my body stood on end. I froze, straining to listen. Another sound followed, the faint scrape of a chair being moved. Someone was in my apartment. Slowly, silently, I reached for the heavy lamp beside me. My grip was slippery with sweat. A shadow flickered against the wall. And then a voice. Familiar. Calm. Chilling. "Hello, Tasha." I turned, my chest tightening. It was Elena. For a split second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. Elena. My voice cracked, disbelief flooding through me. She stood there in my kitchen like she owned the place. My sister, my blood. Her tailored blazer was immaculate, her hair pinned back in that effortless way she'd always done. The only thing different was her eyes. Cold. Hard. Watching me like a predator studies prey. "Don't act surprised," she said softly, leaning against the counter. "You had to know this was coming." My grip tightened on the lamp, though I wasn't sure I could swing it if I had to. My body was trembling too much. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded. "Were you following me? At the cafe, was that you?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You're still thinking too small, Tasha. The men at the cafe? They don't work for me. They work for something bigger. You just happened to stumble into the middle of it. My stomach churned. I wanted to believe she was bluffing, but Elena never wasted words. If she said something was bigger, it was. She stepped forward, her heels clicking against the tile, her eyes never leaving mine. Grandpa should have left that garage to me. Not you. I know what he kept hidden. I know what he was planning. But you were always the weak one. The sentimental one. The one who couldn't see past her own nose. I swallowed hard, my throat raw. Then why are you here, Elena? If you know everything, why come to me? Her smile faded, replaced with something sharper. Because you have something I need. My heart sank. The flash drive. Rachel had it. Unless Elena already knew Rachel had been involved. I forced my voice steady. I don't know what you're talking about. Her eyes narrowed. Don't lie to me. I grew up with you, remember? I know the way your face twitches when you're holding something back. Grandpa gave you more than that car. He gave you a key. A key to everything he worked for. And if you think you can keep it from me, you're wrong. Anger boiled through my fear. I lowered the lamp slowly, more out of exhaustion than trust. You betrayed me, Elena. You betrayed us. You sided with Daniel with his filthy schemes, and now you're standing here, telling me Grandpa wanted you to have it all? No. He trusted me. For the first time, her mask cracked. Just for a flicker. You think you know everything, she said, her voice trembling with restrained fury. But you don't know half of it. Grandpa wasn't the man you think he was. He wasn't some saint, leaving you a legacy out of love. He was building something dangerous. Something that could destroy everything, and everyone we know. And now you've got a piece of it. I shook my head, heat rushing to my face. No, you're twisting it. He wasn't building to destroy. He was building to protect. That's what all of this is. Protection. From people like you. Her jaw clenched, her eyes flashing with something I couldn't quite name. Envy, maybe. Or rage. We stood there in silence. The tension so thick I could barely breathe. Finally, she exhaled and straightened her blazer. You've made your choice, little sister. But choices have consequences. And you won't be able to outrun them forever. She moved toward the door, her heels clicking like a countdown. Just before stepping out, she paused, her back to me. Oh, and one more thing, she said lightly. Rachel? She's not who you think she is either. Be careful where you put your trust. The door closed behind her with a quiet click. I sank into the nearest chair, my hands shaking violently. Elena had always been ruthless, but seeing her like that, in my home, speaking about Grandpa as though he were the villain, left me gutted. Was she lying about him? Or had Grandpa's legacy been darker than I wanted to admit? And Rachel, my stomach turned over. Could Elena be right? Could Rachel be just another player in this twisted game? I pressed my face into my hands, fighting tears. I wanted Grandpa here to tell me what to do, to explain why he'd trusted me with this mess. Instead, I was alone. Alone, with enemies on all sides, a sister who turned into a stranger, and a drive that held secrets powerful enough to put my life on the line. But one thing was clear. Running wasn't going to save me. If I was going to survive this, I had to dig deeper. I had to uncover the truth. About Grandpa, about Elena, about all of it. And I had to do it before they closed in again. The apartment felt colder after Elena left. Her words still echoed in my head like a poison. About Grandpa, about Rachel, about choices and consequences. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Elena's sharp smile, her eyes glittering like steel. By morning, exhaustion had me in its grip, but adrenaline shoved me forward. I couldn't just sit here and wait for the next confrontation. I needed answers. The garage. It was the only place that made sense. Grandpa had trusted me enough to leave it in my name. If Elena was so desperate to get her hands on what he left behind, then the truth had to be buried there. I drove back under the cover of dawn, the streets still damp from the night storm. The garage loomed against the pale light of morning, the old corrugated doors glistening with rain. My key slid into the lock like it had been waiting for me. Inside, the Mustang sat in silence, its deep midnight blue paint gleaming faintly under the strip of light from the dusty windows. Every time I looked at it, I felt both awe and dread, like Grandpa had given me a gift wrapped in dynamite. I walked around the car slowly, trailing my hand along its polished surface. Elena's voice rang in my head. He wasn't who you think he was. Could she be right? I crouched near the back wheel, noticing a faint line in the trunk floor I hadn't seen before. My pulse quickened. Heart pounding. I tugged at the seam until a small panel popped loose, revealing a hollow compartment. Inside were two things. 1, a thin leather folder tied with string. 2, a small velvet pouch. My fingers trembled as I untied the folder. Inside were copies of government documents, badly aged, some stamped with red, classified headers. My eyes scanned names, places, dates. None of it made sense right away, but one word kept reappearing in bold black ink: Operation Emberfall. The velvet pouch was lighter than I expected. I tipped it into my palm, and out rolled a gold coin, except it wasn't any coin I'd ever seen. Etched into it was a crest of an eagle holding lightning bolts, circled by words in Latin. It wasn't money. It was a symbol. Grandpa had hidden this for a reason. I shoved the items back into the pouch, just as a sound froze me in place. Tires crunching gravel outside. I peered through a crack in the garage wall. A black SUV idled just across the street. My blood turned to ice. Had Elena sent them? Or worse, was it whoever she'd hinted at when she said there was something bigger behind this? I backed toward the Mustang, gripping the coin in my fist like it was a weapon. For a terrifying second, I thought the SUV doors would swing open and men would spill out. But instead, the vehicle just sat there, engine humming, tinted windows hiding its occupants. Watching. Waiting. I ducked down, my breath shallow, and slipped out the side door of the garage. No way was I leading them back to my apartment. No way was I letting them see what I had found. I made a split-second choice. I slid into the Mustang, turned the ignition, and prayed Grandpa's pride and joy would roar to life. It did. The engine growled so loudly I thought the whole block would wake up. The SUV's headlights flashed on in response, and my pulse skyrocketed. I peeled out of the garage, gravel spitting under the tires, and hit the street. The SUV followed instantly, its massive frame closing in on me. For the first time since this nightmare began, I realized exactly what Grandpa had left me. Not just a car, not just a legacy, a target. And I was dead center in its crosshairs. The Mustang roared beneath me, its growl filling my chest like a second heartbeat. I'd never driven anything this powerful, and for a terrifying moment, I wondered if I was in control, or if the car was. The SUV's headlights bore down on me, flooding my rearview mirror with blinding white. My hands tightened on the wheel. My knuckles were bone white, my breath coming fast. "Come on, Grandpa," I muttered under my breath. "Tell me you didn't leave me defenseless." The Mustang surged forward as I pressed the accelerator. The speed was intoxicating, but the fear riding shotgun with me kept my mind razor sharp. I swerved onto a side street, tires screeching against wet pavement. The SUV followed without hesitation. My stomach dropped. Whoever was behind me wasn't just watching anymore. They wanted me caught, or worse. The streets blurred past in streaks of neon and shadow. I darted through red lights, narrowly avoiding a delivery truck that blared its horn at me. My pulse hammered in my ears, matching the rhythm of the Mustang's engine. I needed space. I needed to think. But then something happened. As I gripped the wheel tighter, I felt a subtle indentation beneath my left hand. A small, raised button hidden along the underside. My curiosity was split-second, but instinct drove me to press it. A panel in the dashboard clicked open, revealing a tiny compartment. Inside was a laminated card with coordinates scrawled in Grandpa's familiar handwriting. Coordinates. A location. The Mustang wasn't just transportation. It was a map. My eyes flicked back to the mirror. The SUV was closer now, its grille filling my vision like a predator about to swallow me whole. I slammed the gear shift, the Mustang leaping forward. The tires screamed as I cut down a narrow alley, brick walls closing in on either side. Sparks flew when the SUV clipped the corner trying to follow. For a split second, I thought they'd wedge themselves in, but no. They pushed through relentless. Damn it, I hissed, sweat trickling down my temple. Ahead, the alley spat me back onto a main road. My mind raced. I couldn't go home. I couldn't go to the police. And I sure as hell couldn't let them catch me with Grandpa's folder and that strange coin in my bag. The Mustang shuddered as I took another sharp turn, tires barely gripping the slick road. But with every move I made, the SUV matched me like a shadow stitched to my bumper. And then the sirens. Blue and red lights flared behind the SUV. For a heartbeat, hope surged in me. The police. Maybe this nightmare would end right here. But instead of stopping, the SUV gunned its engine. In one seamless motion, it swerved down a side street, disappearing into the maze of the city. The sirens didn't follow it. They followed me. No, 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 I whispered, slamming the brakes as reality sank in. To anyone watching, I looked like the reckless driver. I was the fugitive now. The Mustang idled under the wail of sirens as patrol cars closed in around me. My grip on the wheel loosened, the coin in my pocket burning like fire. Grandpa had left me something dangerous, and if I didn't figure it out fast, I wasn't just going to be hunted. I was going to be trapped.